Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And here I have a great article for you guys from the Motley Fool. It's a really, really great article. I will leave a link to it in the description down below so you guys can check it out. All of the numbers and facts are listed in this article, so make sure you guys check it out if you do want to double check everything. This is going to be a longer video, so make sure you guys stay tuned and pay attention. This is going to be very important. So the most important metric for T-Mobile investors, according to its CFO. So there's a lot of talk back and forth. Numbers don't lie. Guidance is always conservative with T-Mobile. Remember that as I go through this video. So one thing that I do want to point out in regards to the video that I made yesterday, in terms of, how does T-Mobile maintain and retain its leadership on the 5G side in terms of speed. I think availability, they will keep that for some time now, but the speed category could potentially, they could lose that very quickly. So what I suggest, and I think this is, everybody's could have probably guessed this, but I suggest a CapEx increase, and I could see an incremental one happening every quarter for this year. Nothing crazy. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. I think another 100 to 200 million per quarter could serve T-Mobile well. It would allow them to potentially build more sites. If needed, further density, start upgrading legacy small cells. It could help with that, right? It could help accelerate that process. So that's something that I've been brainstorming about. I put a tweet out last night, and I think that I would not be surprised if we start seeing incremental CapEx increases from T-Mobile based on the pressure that they're getting from Verizon. So I want to look at the numbers right off the bat, or I'll look at the key points first. Right, T-Mobile CFO Peter Osvaldik is focused on growing service revenue and converting that into free cash flow. That is happening. So we're going to look at that. T-Mobile trails Verizon and AT&T in free cash flow conversion today. They do, and that's listed in the facts. But we're going to look at the guidance, and like I said, T-Mobile guides conservatively. Improvements in capital efficiency over the next few years should put it on par with the competition, with a sizable revenue base to boot. So again, the growth is going to bring people in the door, and they can sell them add-ons and increase the ARPA. So that's gonna help with the revenue as well, since T-Mobile is still largely a pure wireless player. So let's look at the numbers. This is going to be very important, and I want you guys to grasp this concept of the guidance. And then, today, yes, they are behind, but where they will be in the future should be ahead of Verizon and AT&T in terms of cash generation and converting that service revenue to free cash flow. So here's all three of them, right? Wireless service revenue. Something interesting to note, it's not by a lot, but T-Mobile is already raking in more wireless service revenue compared to AT&T. AT&T is at 61.3, T-Mobile is at 61.7. So pay attention to that. Verizon's still well ahead of the pack at 74.9 billion, but as I anticipated, as they continue losing share in the market, it will impact their financials at some point. It will hurt. So free cash flow, right? Today, T-Mobile is at 8.4 billion. That's in 2023. And that will increase to, T-Mobile set to 13 billion by the end of this year. That's what they're guiding on their guidance sheet for this year. By 2025, T-Mobile is guiding to be at $20+ billion of free cash flow. So they're converting their service revenue to free cash flow. So they're generating profits, and it will be a massive profit generation by 2025. Keep that in mind. And their service revenue is at 13.6, right? AT&T is at 12.3 billion. Free cash flow right now, they're guiding to be at 16 billion by the end of the year. And then Verizon is sitting at 15.4 billion, right? That's right now. But if you look at T-Mobile's guidance, they're going to generate more free cash flow than Verizon and AT&T by 2025. Per the dividends that AT&T and Verizon pay out, they're guiding to have less free cash flow because they're spending more on the dividends. They increase them every quarter. Maybe, there's been rumors floating around that AT&T perhaps cuts their dividend even more. That would hurt their stock, in my opinion. A lot of people invest into that stock because of the dividend. So that would hurt their stock. T-Mobile is doing a ton of buybacks. They haven't announced the dividend yet. Don't know if they will. But for now, they don't pay out dividend. So their free cash flow is well on target of hitting the 13 billion by the end of this year and then the 20 plus billion by 2025. So that's just something that I wanted to point out, as you know, everyone is reiterating their free cash flow and their service revenue story. Verizon keeps telling us judge us on service revenue, and it's been working for them, but in the last few quarters it's been a bit shaky. They've had some drops on that. They have had to guide down, so that didn't really work for them. AT&T didn't really have a ton of free cash flow in the first quarter, so that kind of hurt their stock, right? And T-Mobile is kind of just sitting in the middle, right? They announced, to keep this in mind as well, they announced the guidance in 2021. That was before these new plans were introduced with higher, that are more expensive. They guided this under Magenta Max. They did not have in the guidance the Go 5G Plus. So the Go 5G Plus plan is probably upside to this financial plan guidance that they put forth. So this is all very interesting. People are still out there commenting saying, hey, we don't know if T-Mobile will get there. They're well on their way. They're hitting the percentages that they said they would. They're a very disciplined company. They guide conservative. Keep that in mind. Like I said at the beginning of the video, they're telling us they're going to hit $20+ billion of free cash flow. That's a conservative estimate. T-Mobile always guides conservative. That's by history. That hasn't changed. So they could be at 21, 22, 23+ billion by 2025 of free cash flow. And again, the numbers are listed right here. Yes, right now, and even the Motley Fool is pointing that out as part of the key points. T-Mobile has less free cash flow. By the end of the year, they'll be at 13 billion. So they could easily afford $100 to $200 million of a capex increase for the next few quarters to compete back on the networking side. Will that necessarily help them? It will help them somewhat. Will it help them combat Verizon coming after them? Probably not. They probably would need a significant amount of an increase on the capex side. But for now, they are operating very smartly and efficiently. So I could see another 100 to 200 million going into the capex per quarter. And, you know, if the cash flow is going the way that they're going, right? Remember, like I just said, the Go 5G Plus is probably upside. So there's probably some additional free cash flow that they're generating. So they could easily put that towards capex to accelerate a few things if they want to, right? They could start C-band DoD ahead of time if they wanted it to. They could accelerate the legacy small cells being upgraded to N41. They could construct more new site builds that were scheduled for 24. They could move them into 2023. So there's a lot of flexibility for T-Mobile at this juncture if we're looking at the numbers. Again, like I said, just to recap, the Go 5G Plus, if I had to take a guess, is probably upside. All of the guidance that they put forth in 2021 was based on the plans and pricing at that time. The Go 5G Plus probably was not factored in, so that's upside. And they told us recently that as they continue in this quarter, they still have the same take rate on this Go 5G Plus as they did on Magenta Max, and that's 60%. That's pretty huge. And I recently saw in an internal document that T-Mobile has converted 77% of new wireless voice customers to fixed wireless access. That's also a huge accomplishment. So what the strategy they put forth, it's working. The numbers are there. They're generating cash. They're generating free cash flow. They now take in more wireless service revenue than AT&T. That's only going to increase. They told us they would be at 70 billion by 2025 per the guidance. And again, that was without the new plans. So let me know what you think about this in the comment section down below. Again, this is just the early on, right? This is still the early stages of the new T-Mobile. They still have new areas to expand into that we don't know about, right? There's another analyst day coming with new guidance beyond 2025. They have some work to do on enterprise. The 20% guidance that they gave us for the rule push, that's not even taking any fair share. So there's more share to grab there. The enterprise, the same thing. There's more share to grab. So there's more to come from T-Mobile. This is just, like I said, early stages, very early beginnings, and they have some more fight in them against Verizon and AT&T. That's why I say Verizon needs to immediately pivot and they need to become more competitive. Right now, as you can see, they generate double the free cash flow today. They generate more wireless service revenue, so they could spend way more than they are. Like they told us recently, although they're still set to spend that $17-18 billion of the CapEx, but if you divide that into the service revenue that they make, they have the lowest amount of intensity on the CapEx. They could spend more. They could accelerate if they needed to. But their CFO told us that CapEx is coming down. Same with AT&T. So T-Mobile is in a very unique position, in my opinion. They can spend more if they need to. They can do fiber if they wanted it to. They can do more fiber to the home like they've been doing with the third parties. They're in a good position. Are they in the best position? Do they have the best financials? No. But you got to give them some time, and eventually it looks like they will get to a very successful balance sheet that makes a lot of free cash flow, takes in a lot of service revenue, which in return will allow T-Mobile to, get more aggressive on M&A, buy more spectrum, whatever the case may be. It will allow them to compete more fiercely. So make sure you guys stay tuned for more. Like, share, subscribe, follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Life. See y'all in the next one. Peace.